Meeting to order at 6:05 PM. If the clerk will please call the roll.
Randy LeBlanc,
Present.
Kathy Ann Harris, Diane P. LeBlanc,
Present.
Christine A. Mackin,
Present.
Joseph P. LeCompte.
Present.
You have one absent, four present. That's a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Quorum. Councilor Carver, would like to approve the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes. I'm trying to find the, you have a copy of the agenda here?
Yeah.
You didn't meet last time.
Yeah, so the minutes from,
Okay. From 8/5 of 2019, we have to approve those minutes.
Make that motion.
Councilor Carver made the motion to approve minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Yes, have it.
okay.
Clerk, would like to call the first meeting?
So you have no new items. You have two tabled items that we have invited people in on. One is a resolution protecting youth from smoking. The other one is a resolution concerning sidewalks.
Okay, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to take the resolution protecting youth from the dangers of using tobacco and vaping from the table.
Councilor Blank, would like to take that from the table. Councilor Mackin on the motion?
So we do have somebody here to speak on that, is that right?
I believe so.
Director of the Health
Yeah, I
Department.
just wanted to check that you're here on that matter and not,
Yes.
great. In that case, I support the motion. Even though the state has taken some steps, I think having a discussion here, especially since you took the time to come, is appropriate.
Thank you. So all in motion, all those in favor?
Aye. I move to hear from off-committee members.
Councilor Blank, who moves to hear from all our committee members, all those in favor?
Aye. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Before you start, I'm
Yep.
sorry. Is anyone here recording? Could you state your name?
Chris Campbell.
Chris Campbell, thank you very much.
Excellent. So we have the Director of Public Health with us this evening. Thank you very much for coming in. When you were last in, you were also accompanied by some of the Board of Health members. And I made a request for you to come in because it was just an update, obviously leaving it to your discretion. You can always bring whoever you want in, and you know that. So when you were here back in May, we had DJ Wilson, who's sort of the one of the Massachusetts authorities on tobacco products, vaping products. And he was in here talking about what some other communities are doing, in particular with regard to protecting youth. And he talked about some regulations that could be adopted that are typically and easiestly adopted by the local Board of Health rather than creating some sort of a local law. What I understood him to say is the state law gives boards of health an easy mechanism for choosing to adopt certain regulations. And he went through and he had a bunch of them. So when I made the request for you to come in, I just wanted to get an update on what occurred and what the Board of Health talked about and what your discussion was around those regulations.
Unfortunately, they were tabled, but the board has tabled them, so I can't even discuss what is happening with them. They do have them tabled, they haven't brought it up for discussion again, and now with this 4-month ban, they're not going to even, I think about anything until.
So we met, I don't know, it was like May
And we,
something.
yes, and then the board
And did you
tabled
meet
afterwards.
that night or like
No,
right after?
No, I believe it was, let's see. They were tabled on May 21st.
Okay, so and I think our meeting was
It was before that.
May 19th or May 20th, so it wasn't, okay. Can you tell me, are there minutes from that meeting?
There should be at the office, yes. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Because what we got back, what the clerk sent out was just your brief communication saying they were tabled. Was there any discussion of them prior to being tabled, do you recall?
I don't recall that, I'm sorry, Council, about that, I don't recall that far back. If they discussed anything,
Okay.
it may have been in short saying something that they wanted to make some changes, or need the law department to help them make some changes. then they tabled the matter. It was quickly tabled. So the discussion was maybe a minute or two on it.
Okay, so the discussion was minimal. Did you say did they send a request to the law department?
That I don't know. I have to ask the chairman if he did that. This is a Board of Health matter, so.
Right.
I mean, really, they should be the ones,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately, they should be the ones in here.
Are you at their meetings? Okay.
Yeah, but I just can't speak, I'm just
No, of course,
facilitating
okay,
for
all right. I took a quick look online and I didn't think I saw the minutes, but I will look,
that. Okay.
I will
I can have Nicole
look
send it to
again.
you.
So has the Board of Health met since, Governor Baker issued the emergency, declaration, the ban on vaping products?
They have, they just met on the first of the month of this
And did
month.
they discuss that?
You know, I think the only thing that was said was, there's a ban, and that was it. They said, let's
all
wait.
right. I mean, I don't know about other counselors, and maybe it's just sort of circles I travel in, but I've had questions, and I had questions myself.
Sure.
But people have asked me questions as to, what does this mean for Waltham?
Right,
Right?
right.
So when the governor of the state issues a ban, and, thank you for bringing copies of these documents. I did see these,
Okay.
online. So what does this mean for Waltham?
Well, what happens right now is, I have the inspectors go out to, I think we have about 68 locations, and I believe 5 of them are actual vaping stores, which means they can also sell tobacco products if they want. We have one vaping store that has closed, everybody else has taken all their products off the shelves. You can't even go in there and ask, like, they'll tell you they no longer sell it until the ban is over. So the inspectors did what they need to do, they dropped off packets to them from the state, and then we go back out and double check just to make sure that no product is being sold. If it does, we have to issue a cease and desist, we have to notify the state. So there's a process to it, but so far Waltham has been good.
Okay, all right. I mean, I would guess operate like most of the council committees, while the issue might not necessarily be on an agenda, since it is a tabled matter, could a member take it off the table and raise it, or does that have to be noticed first?
Oh, no, they can take it off the table and raise it. I mean, technically, it's supposed to be on the agenda for discussion. They should call the office and let us know that they want to discuss it. But they can put it under new business or old business, and they can discuss it then, as long as it'll be into our minutes.
All right. And this goes to, the former director. And he and I actually, and you might have been aware of some of these conversations, when he and I would talk about, these regulations, and he took me back and he gave me sort of the history of when all of these regulations were promulgated by the state, and then Waltham went through its process to decide what to accept and what not to accept. My recollection was that we chose not to accept many of them, primarily because they didn't know how they would be enforced. Does that ring a bell with you at all,
The
or?
only thing that I know is that we chose to do V21 and over only. I don't recall why John or the board,
Okay.
it's not even John's decision, it's the board's decision to accept certain regulations, and they have us do the footwork form. The board wants to make the regs, so we just do what they want.
Okay, so tell me again, since the ban, they did meet one time,
They met on the first of.
okay, but it wasn't discussed.
First
Okay,
Tuesday.
all right, thank you,
Yes.
thank you.
Councilor McCollum?
Yes, just real quickly, in terms of the Board of Health, you are on the Board of Health?
I'm not on the board, I
You
work
are
for the
not,
board.
you just work for the board, so a lot of the
I
discussions, so,
facilitate for
okay,
them.
yeah, so you just facilitate, so a lot of the discussions that, the counselor
Should go
had asked about.
before the board.
Yeah, there weren't things that you, or even part of the discussion, you were there, just not on the board to make
Correct.
certain decisions.
Correct.
Okay, I just was trying to wrap my head around that and confirm that.
first thing that came to my mind when I heard about the ban is that the resolution was about youth vaping, and anybody who's underage isn't gonna have any access to nicotine withdrawal products like gums or patches or anything. So my concern is youth who do have a physical and psychological addiction don't necessarily have the same support system that an adult would have.
This, I didn't mean to interrupt,
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
yeah.
but there is a lot of information on the state website that actually help youth and parents and for clinicians to actually work
Okay.
with the younger, community so they can get the help that they need so they can stop vaping.
Okay, and then is your department offering any resources or doing outreach into the schools to make sure people are aware of that?
We have not yet, cause
Okay.
I just did a webinar today as well to learn a little bit more about it, so it's information overload, so I have to sit tomorrow and go through all
Sure.
the information. I'm gonna reach out to the school and see what they need for help,
Okay.
if they in fact do need anything for help.
Perfect. I was just gonna ask if you need anything from the council to support that then.
Thank you, I will let you know.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, that's all for me.
I would like to make a request to get copies, from the meeting where the matter was discussed even briefly and then tabled.
Sure,
If you could send those to the clerk.
sure.
All in request? Those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Those have it.
Move to lay the matter back on the table.
Also, maybe the matter on the table, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sorry?
Should I ask if she would like to?
Sure.
You're only allowed.
Story
Five for everyone.
off the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. That is before us, Councilor McConnell. Do you want to speak on it at all? or?
I have one question, but I would like to talk slowly
Sure.
and ask that the counselor who
All right.
made the request.
Well, it's in front of us. I'll just say we have an inventory of sidewalks here and a list. And if we have the director here, if he would like to take us through the list and how it works,
Yeah, I'd
and what it
just like to get a
states.
little run exactly how it
All
works.
right, so this is just one copy?
That's, yeah, my copy. You're welcome
No, no.
to share. So we have, the director here, if you could take us through that, and Council Calvo makes a motion to hear from our committee members last, full meeting. All those in favor to hear from our committee members?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Welcome, Councilor Nebeline.
Thank you.
So if the director would like to take us through this list and how it works.
So, it is at this, an alphabetical list of all the sidewalks, material. If you look, if you're, does everyone have the list in front of them?
Mhm.
Where it says one even, these are obviously segments of the sidewalks. You need to correlate them with the map that's online, to try and figure out where that section actually is. You'll see there's a rating, which is SCI, Sidewalk Condition Index. 100 is good, 0 is bad. So, and then anything in between you can see. So the amounts that these cost, so they put in values for certain, repair options. I don't know that the values, obviously, they talk one number, we get bids and whatever it comes in at.
Sure.
These are probably low. Where it says repair, typically it's gonna be a replacement. We may repair, it might be that for concrete that we don't need to do the entire, we can cut out a square of concrete, an entire square, and replace just that. Asphalt, typically we'll do big sections of asphalt. Unless, there's a tree root issue, then we can cut that out, see if we can do something with the roots. And that kind of depends on, a lot of times, what the city arborist will allow us to do. I mean, that's the basis of this. You know, it says the report was intended just for general planning and
Mhm.
information, so they get an idea of where the bad sidewalks were. I was trying to figure out how to put it in a different order. Where there's so many, I don't know that, you know, would have put different streets in different areas. So the alphabetical listing may be a better way to do it, just so you keep segments together of entire streets. There is no, you know, there is no way that I found that you could kind of take an entire road without manually doing it and figure out like what's the average.
And in your explanation there, we have the, it says structural issues. Take one that's a 115, that's in good shape?
That's the footage of where the issue, you know, the
Okay.
length of the footage. So
Mhm.
that's a 218-foot length of sidewalk,
Mhm.
115 feet of it,
Okay.
and that's why you get a rating next to that of 17.
Pardon me, I was looking at the wrong.
No, it's,
SCI was what I meant to ask, and if you take an SCI 100, which you said was great shape, and you take a 0, and the 100, you know, not applicable for repairs, I guess just so we all understand what kind of we're looking at. So it says not applicable for repairs because it had a score index on the SCI of 100. That one's in $0 to repair or replace, so that one's, I'm gonna assume, in perfect, well, not perfect, but in
Right.
good shape, where it requires no maintenance. And then a 0 is replacement, and the $2,160 represents the approximate replacement cost from,
based
yeah,
on
I
whatever,
guess,
based on what values they put in to repair
Current.
that section.
current fuel cost.
You know, 115 feet of a 218-foot sidewalk,
Mhm,
we're probably just gonna replace the whole thing.
mhm. Okay. Councilor Carver has the floor.
I'm all set currently.
Okay, if you wanted to hear from off-committee member,
Can I-
Councilor member. Oh, I'm sorry, on committee?
Apologies, I have one clarifying question. How is it indicated if there's a road with no sidewalk? Is that where the width is blank?
I don't know.
Oh, okay,
I was trying to look through it to figure it out, not using the mapping, we're having some issues with it, so I've been in touch with the provider.
okay.
I was trying to look at street, like I was looking at,
So I looked at Villa Street,
Beaver
because I was
Street,
walking there this weekend, and there's no sidewalks, and it just has blanks instead of a width.
yeah, and that's what I would think, but I was looking at like Farnham Road,
Okay,
and I think Farnham Road has sidewalks the entire length.
Oh, yeah, granite concrete.
Right, so,
Yeah, my house.
that piece didn't make sense to
Okay.
me, so I gotta look into that further.
okay,
It may be that they just don't put them on there, cause there was no sidewalk to rate.
okay, that makes sense.
One more question on the explanation.
And
of this
I
before
can yield the
close.
floor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was this an existing list, or you prepared this, for Council Neveline?
So no, this was a list that was prepared by, as part of the pavement condition.
Okay.
So it was one of the things that they did while they were up there, and they did handicap ramps and.
Councilor LeBrun?
Thank you. How old is the list?
So the report was completed in 2018,
Okay, so.
but it was done in 17, you know, during the non.
Relatively current. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Neveline?
Thank you. So who generated this report again?
Environmental Partners Group.
And could you please explain, for example, the reason I asked for this report is we've been looking at sidewalks as this huge issue that we can't tackle. So now that we've got an inventory of all sidewalks that are non-existent and those that need repair, I'm hoping that each councillor would obviously go through their ward, identify the high traffic corridors and priorities where we can then present that to the mayor and see if we can get money in next year's budget to take a chunk out of this. But looking at my ward, Linden Street, you have 90, 69, 78, and you just said that sidewalk condition index 100 means good and 0 bad. How can you have these high numbers on a street that does not have sidewalks?
So sections of Linden Street do have sidewalks.
Also, from the, well, yeah,
So I don't know if an area that doesn't have a sidewalk is actually listed here.
okay, but that's the problem. We would like a comprehensive report of all sidewalks that need to be put in and need to be repaired for us to have then a realistic or a feasible report to then present to the mayor if we're going to be asking for money to get sidewalks and repair sidewalks.
Right, so I was gonna check with them to see if it does include those areas without sidewalks. And then if it doesn't, if you would like a report, we'd have to hire someone to do that, or take this, they could take this list, this company, and go through it again, noting areas that don't have sidewalks.
I guess why isn't your department able to generate a list like this if you are the Department of Consolidated Public Works?
We can, it will just take a lot longer to be able to dedicate one person to do that.
And how much would a report like this cost?
Just the sidewalks, if we end up using the same company, it would probably be 20,000, 30,000, I would guess.
We can't do this right. What I'm seeing a lot in Waltham is a sidewalk is dug up, and then it's dug up again because something was done wrong or something wasn't done right the first time. So if we're going to tackle a project of this magnitude, we have to start off right. Starting off right requires us to have a comprehensive list of all the sidewalks throughout Waltham that need to be repaired and those that need to be put in. So if you're telling me that this is not a comprehensive list, I think that we should, I highly recommend that this committee consider hiring a company if our DPW, if our Consolidated Public Works Department is unable to generate a list like this, but if it is able to generate a list like this and we are able to save $30,000 by the time we actually need the money to repair or replace or build sidewalks, then I ask that you consider that it actually does its job to generate a comprehensive list for us to work from. Does that make sense? Thanks.
Councilor LeBlanc?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Jason, at one point, we replaced sidewalks as we believed they were needed. And then at some point, we switched and we were only doing the sidewalks when we did the streets.
Since I've been here, we've pretty much only done them, so we started as, when we did streets, we tried to do sidewalks.
Right.
And then, 2 years ago, we have a sidewalk crew that does sidewalk repairs.
Okay.
We did recently.
So how long have you been with the city?
So 2011.
Okay, all right. So all of your time, the policy has been, we don't replace sidewalks unless we redo the street.
So we've only ever got money to do sidewalks along while we're doing streets.
But we have more recently used employees
Yes,
to do some repairs,
so yeah,
but not on Copeland Street.
because there's no sidewalks, that's just
Right,
curbing.
right.
So like this year we did, we went at Hammond Street. Every tree pit pretty much had a ramp at it, so we went through and replaced all those and any other broken sidewalks, that were real hazards. We had done, I think it was Eddy Street the year before, Orange Street we were working on, and I think Arlington of that area. So they usually pick an area, you know, it's,
So in terms of the repairs, right, like, I mean, what's the criteria? Are they repairing sidewalks that really need to be replaced?
so typically our sidewalk crew will do the concrete work, where we can more easily do repairs that is a complete replacement of that section of sidewalk. So you can dig out 3 panels of concrete, re-level it, and then re-pour new concrete over it. So it's a repair replacement, but not, you know, you could go and have 10 good panels in a row. So we leave those and then, you know, do the damaged ones or the ones that are hazard. You know, if there's a crack in one and all around it is good, we'll leave that one if it's not causing an issue.
What does the decision-making process look like for deciding asphalt or concrete?
What's existing?
So, I mean, I'm told, there was actually somebody reached out to me today, I think it was on Pleasant Street. We have asphalt on one side, and we're doing concrete on the other,
That's what was there.
okay? Why?
That's what was there a long time ago. That was what was put in, whenever the street was constructed. One side was
Okay.
concrete, one side was asphalt. Probably one side
But
was,
when we actually do work, there's an
So it's a-
opportunity to sort of,
so it's a betterment, and someone needs to decide whether or not. I cannot make the decision that, hey, we're gonna change this and give them a better. So it has been that we replace what's there when we're doing these projects.
okay, all right, thank you.
May I? I'm so glad you brought that up, Councillor at Large, because who makes these decisions? That, you know, what's put in asphalt versus, is it marble, granite? What's the?
Concrete. Concrete.
Yeah. Who makes these decisions?
When?
When you're replacing or repairing?
So what, the decision's made, whatever is existing, we replace that.
Okay, the decision is made by who?
So if we were to change, if there's an existing concrete sidewalk, we replace that or repair it with concrete.
Okay, I guess I'm not making myself clear. Who, you said that's not your,
So I
your
cannot,
decision? Okay,
if there's an asphalt sidewalk, I
okay,
cannot upgrade it and give that side of the street a betterment, which would be from asphalt to concrete.
to concrete, okay, because I have a problem with that. I have a constituent who, you know, takes great pain in making sure his, you know, home, everything around his home is, you know, very well done. And DP, and your department went to repair an old, is it fire hydrant? So you took out concrete and you replaced it with asphalt.
Which street?
I think it's
Off of
his home.
Fifth Street?
Fisk and Joy, yes.
So the section we replaced
I'm looking for the picture.
was asphalt.
No, it wasn't, because I have a before and after picture from him that I can't find, because it's, I have like a million.
So you're talking
pictures.
about the curbing?
Yeah, oh yeah, the curbing.
Okay, so I have not seen, we looked, I did not see a picture, I went back to Google Maps and looked back at the history, and it was always, never saw a piece of granite curbing there.
All right. They took out the piece of granite curbing and they replaced that with asphalt. And you can see, it's so funny that there's a section of it that abuts Joy Street that's all granite. And then this section just right in front of the fire hydrant is asphalt. And then right next to that is granite to go on. So that doesn't make any sense to me. So
But it's
again,
not
my
like that.
question is, who makes this decision? You're the director of DPW.
Yeah, so the picture is, it's the whole street is asphalt berm. At the corners is granite. Looking back at old pictures, the piece that was removed to do the work was asphalt, as far as we could tell.
Okay, when they took that piece away that day,
It-
he had many, so are you,
I'm saying they did not take a piece, yeah, I'm saying he's not being truthful.
Okay, so if he produced pictures of before and after, you would go back and replace that
Sure.
piece? Fantastic, okay, thank you. That was
Okay.
just curious question.
Thank you, I have 3 questions. What's the best way, if there's a pothole or a missing chunk of sidewalk, for somebody to report that and get it replaced?
The best way.
What way do you prefer that those requests arrive?
So I prefer, typically a phone call to 781-314-3855.
Okay,
Paul will enter it in, and it will go right on the list. You can enter them through the pothole, you know, you can go online and enter a work order.
drop down menu thing?
The
Yeah.
problem with that is, if you don't put in pothole and you put sidewalk, when you bring it over, it goes on a different list. So,
Okay.
so we do everything, so we can, you know, the guys will come in, we'll print them out a pothole list
Okay,
based on a field and give them that list, and they'll manipulate, you know, look at it and go to certain areas. If you enter anything wrong in that section, then it may not end up on that list.
okay,
The other thing, we have to go through and bring those work orders over, so it doesn't automatically put them into our regular work order system. So he does it once a day or every other day and gets them onto that list. So it's faster, easier, more likely to be in the right place if they just call.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then the second question is, if sidewalks want to be replaced with a better quality material than they have, or if there's a section that doesn't have sidewalks and people want them, is that a betterment petition, or does that open a can of worms that?
No, it's a
Same as the
betterment,
street?
it's a betterment, if they wanna do the whole street, yes. You know, to add new sidewalks, Linden Street, there was conversation a few years ago when we gave them the cost, they didn't wanna, you know, they didn't wanna pay for that work to be done.
Okay,
You know, then it's up to the council to determine 50, 70, 90, 10, whatever the percentage might be. And things have changed now that it may be more, you know, cost prohibitive, but the opposite. For them to do it, or it just gets done, I don't,
okay. And then the third question is, on private ways, if there's an existing sidewalk, does the city maintain that? Or is it in the same situation as the road where you can do temporary, whatever it's called? The words are.
temporary repair, minor
Minor
repairs
repairs.
under 25. So it does, we typically do not do a lot of sidewalk work on private ways.
Okay, cool, thank you, I finished.
Can you just explain a little further for the benefit of the committee on if there was no sidewalk as to what the procedure would be on Linden Street as it went through,
Yeah.
what, 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
It was in the last 5,
Just,
10,
can
being
you
at 10
just
years, so-
explain for the benefit of the committee the procedure on
So I
what
know
it would like to.
residents on Linden Street wanted a sidewalk on at least one side of the street.
Mhm.
And I forget which side they wanted, knowing and curbing. We looked at 2 options, I think, concrete with granite and asphalt with a berm. They lose parking on the street if it went on the house side. But that would have been a continuation of the sidewalk, I believe, that comes down that side of the street, so the west side. So the process had started, I think there was a neighborhood meeting, and then with the cost and what they might have to pay, nothing went forward with that.
Who does all that, the ward counselor?
Yes.
Who orchestrates the?
Yeah, looks at the petition, gets it, decides whether or not they wanna bring it forward. So that's the typical course of action. There are times when we put sidewalks in and they go in. And I put sidewalks in where I'm told I have to put sidewalks in.
Counselor White?
So you said something that I just find very interesting. I think you said you don't generally put a sidewalk on a private way.
No, I don't.
Did you ever
No,
do
not on
sidewalks?
private ways,
So you've never done a sidewalk on a private way?
not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Not that I, not off the top of my
All
head, no.
right, so in terms of betterments, and I understand sort of the process that we're dealing with now, but for major roads, right, for Linden Street isn't a side street.
Trapelo Road.
Is there a way to get around the betterments? I mean, that's a major road. Your major roads should have a safe sidewalk on at least one side.
Yeah,
Do you know any communities that don't assess betterments when they put in sidewalks on major roads?
I haven't looked into that.
I mean, I know the council can always,
Right.
you know, take a vote and adjust betterments. But I mean, I'm sure you get it all the time. People
Yeah,
don't understand, especially on a main road. why they're
Beaver
putting-
Street at the Rotary, there's no sidewalk
Right.
to get around on either side.
Right, exactly. I mean, you know, if you're on a side street and it's your neighborhood, that they understand a little bit easier. But when they live on Lincoln Street or Linden Street or whatever, they just don't understand why they should be paying anything. Okay,
Yeah, it's,
right.
I'm sure there's.
Nothing you have control
I'm
over.
sure there's ways,
That we can get
decisions
around
that can be
that.
made and,
Yeah.
provisions that allow for that.
Okay, thank you.
And then one of those, just if you could explain for the benefit of the committee that, around schools, I know in the snow plowing, they handle the sidewalks and they do a little bit of job. Is the sidewalks around schools in the same category as far as hazards or repairs taken better care of, or
Yeah,
preferential treatment? I guess?
typically all, like directly around a school, when they redid all the schools, they put in brand new sidewalks, concrete. Some, a school like Fitzgerald is tough, because that entire neighborhood walks, like, you can't plow every sidewalk there. There's, the sidewalks are tight, the trees are old, but we do try, when people have issues, we do try and, we redid Barber Road, Beale Road sidewalks, both sides, and as part of the paving project.
Mhm.
And part of the reason was, to get those sidewalks in better condition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I understand schools are the first priority. Is there then a priority given around senior housing?
So the way we look at it's, schools, city buildings, federal buildings, getting to bus stops, which is tough because there's so many. So, a lot of the senior housing, which would be in those general areas of
I mean, I'm
federal
thinking,
buildings and.
101 Prospect, I'm thinking 48 Pine, Grove Street.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like handicap accessibility and, how we choose that, but, I know we looked at where we've done the senior housing, when you look at, I went to a class, it wasn't listed as one of those things of how you choose where you should start. It's, hubs of Main and Moody, River Street, where there's big, but a lot of those areas have been done and upgraded or repaired.
Thank you.
Councilor Marie?
Thank you, Chairman Chason, for coming in and going through this list with us. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Chairman Chason, I'd like to make a request for a comprehensive list of sidewalks throughout Waltham that need to be built and need to be replaced. And from his department, a quote from, what's the company again? Environmental Partners Group, with how much it would cost to generate this report, and also from the department, how long it would take for CPW to generate the same report, and if this, and if we deem that report, the timeline of that report coincides with when we actually need funds to tackle this project, then we will go with the CPW's report and go from there. Thank you.
Council,
I'll make that request.
On the
Council,
request,
on the request?
I'd like to suggest before we get estimates for a new report, that the director identify if there is a way that sidewalks or streets without sidewalks are notated. Because I think you said that you could go back and ask them what the deal was.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to them first before we recreate.
Okay. I'd be more comfortable doing that first, but if the,
Fantastic. There's no contest here. Whatever works. The whole point is getting sidewalks to Waltham. So I'm with you. Thank you
okay,
for making the
I
request.
think the at-large counselor, was going to make a request,
Yeah,
so I'll let you.
I said, no, I
define the
mean, I'm
language.
happy to make that request if Council need, yep.
I just had a question regarding the request, like, we talking every street?
Because from there we can identify high traffic corridors like Linden Street. I'd been walking for 15 minutes, just 15 minutes, and I'd already counted 23 kids. So where are all those parents walking with their kids? That's from Linden to that roundabout, where the sidewalks are. So, and their grandparents in that area who I'm sure have kids that visit. So for me, the whole point is getting a comprehensive list. Then each councillor may be working with you to identify the high traffic corridors, are people using these streets to go to work, to school, to the farm, everything.
No, that's what,
everywhere.
so I just want,
And then-
are we looking at only high traffic areas? Or do we, I know you wanna
Yeah.
I'm more asking for if we're gonna look at doing it in-house, are we looking at all the side streets? Would it include private ways, non-private ways?
I think we should just get it done. I don't want to use the word right for, to begin with, then from there, as years go on, we already have this list that's not
Okay.
going anywhere. But if we keep cutting it in chunks, like right now, I thought we had a comprehensive list and we don't, so a list of sidewalks throughout Waltham.
Council, state your request?
Yep, I made what Councilor Nicolini said.
It's a comprehensive list.
Comprehensive list, right?
Oh, comprehensive list of
Mr. Clerk, you need every
sidewalks
question
that need
ready?
repair and those that need to be built. I think we should include a private ways as well, because there's some neighborhoods that are in the process of converting from private to public, so that would help us.
I mean, I agree, it's good to have a complete list and know what the situation is, right? And then you can go from there and make decisions as to what you do.
What were you saying, Rota?
So this report does not include any private ways?
Request form.
In part, that's why it's not comprehensive.
Well, because chapter 90 paid for it
Right.
and cannot pay for
Right.
private ways.
And could chapter 90 pay for a little further of evaluating?
As long as it doesn't include private ways.
That's a, I mean, that's a request.
Is the request you need it in writing, Mr. Clerk?
Might be helpful, but let me just, let me see if I got it, and maybe I don't. So a request for a comprehensive list of sidewalks, looking at every street. And then, do you also still want all the cost information, or do you wanna start at the comprehensive list?
I'll defer to Councillor.
I'm not making the request though.
I know, but you amended the request.
So the suggestion was to have a single request to reach back out to the company and ask what, if any, information they have about streets with no sidewalks, if that's included in the list, or if that's something that they had kept a record of when they were doing the report.
We'll incorporate that into this request, yeah.
Okay.
On the request, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Council McCallum with that matter back on the table?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Move to adjourn.
Council Knight moves to adjourn, all fail. All
Aye.
opposed? We're adjourned.